House comes to questions for oral answer, and question number 1 is in the name of Maggie Barry.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. What reports has he received on the economy?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, this morning Statistics New Zealand released GDP data for the second quarter of 2013. The New Zealand economy grew by 0.2% in that quarter, with the effects of one of the more serious droughts in a generation having a major influence on that result. Annual growth was 2.5%, which is consistent with the government's aspirations for growth of 2 to 3%, which is sufficient to support more jobs and moderate increases in incomes. Previous GDP growth numbers have been revised upwards, so that growth for the year is slightly above both our expectations and market expectations. Given the circumstances of a significant drought, this result shows broader-based growth in the economy, and it's likely to continue.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
What were the main factors affecting growth in the June quarter?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I've already referred to the drought earlier this year, which saw the largest fall in dairy production volumes in 24 years. Offsetting the drought was a growth in 8 out of 11 service industries, an increase in retail accommodation and restaurants, focused mainly in retailing, a 2.6% increase in business services, and construction activity increased by 2.3%, mainly in infrastructure. This is further evidence of the government's substantial and ongoing investment in infrastructure growth. Private consumption grew by 1.5% in the quarter. There was a small reduction in manufacturing output for the quarter related to the drought, but overall, despite opposition allegations manufacturing is in crisis, it grew 1.6% for the year.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, how does New Zealand's growth in the last year compare to other countries, and what is the outlook for the economy?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, our annual growth of 2.5% is ahead of the US on 1.6%, the UK on 1.5%, Canada on 1.4%, Japan on 1.3%, and the Euro area on negative 0.5%. And I think our numbers are roughly the same, if not slightly better, than Australia and Singapore. The outlook for the economy continues to be positive. We're looking at consensus forecasts of 2 to 3% growth over the next 3 years. This will support continued growth in new jobs and moderate increases in incomes. However, while this is an encouraging outlook, it's important that we stick to policy that is going to make it easier for businesses to continue to invest another dollar and employ another person, because that's what will improve the welfare of our households.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Parker.
Given that our export and import substitution industries declined by 2.3% in the June quarter, does he agree that our economy is overly dependent on the weather? And while the sporting hopes of the country and the America's Cup rely upon the weather, the destiny of our economy ought not?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, no, I don't agree. I knew that Labor were against jobs, but being against our agricultural industries seems a bit bizarre for a party that aspires to take part in the economic debate in New Zealand. The fact is that this result shows precisely the opposite of what the member is saying. It shows a broad-based recovery where a lot of our non-agricultural businesses, including our service industries, are showing promising signs of growth. And if we stick to the track we're on, I believe it will lead to further diversification of our economy. But let's not knock the success of our core protein production industries. They will be core to New Zealand's success for the next 2 decades.
Supplementary question, Maggie Barry.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, what steps is the government taking to build a more productive and competitive economy and to increase growth?
Honourable Bill English.
Well, we're continuing to focus on managing the government's finances responsibly, on improving the productivity of the 25% of the economy the government controls directly, so that when we put taxpayers' money into our social services, we get better protection for vulnerable families, more achievement for our young people, better health services for our older people. So that contributes to a competitive economy and increased growth. We're also continuing with a broad program to reduce costs for business, to cut red tape, continue to invest in innovation, and do whatever we can to keep interest rates lower for longer so that it will be easier for businesses to hire more people.
Question number 2, the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister